From Miller Waldrop Studios, this is Campus Live.
What's up, Campus Live fans? It's Lane here in the Miller Waldrop Studios today to bring you another edition of the Guns
Blazin
podcast, episode number 21. As always, I'm one of your hosts today. Alongside me for today's episode is Mr. Jordan Godfrey. Jordan, how are you doing on this beautiful Wednesday here in Lubbock?
I'm doing well, feeling good. I'm excited to get another episode going.
Yeah, it's been kind of a crazy past few weeks for Texas Tech sports, but today we'll be discussing just some of the other topics besides, the whole Brendan Sorsby allegations and of that sort. We'll be touching on all things differently for Texas Tech football, some men's basketball updates for the transfer portal, and of course, Texas Tech softball hosting their regional here in Lubbock. But first, we just want to thank everyone for tuning in every single week, and we ask that you please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you're seeing any of our content on our social media platforms, whether it is the Guns Blazin podcast or Campus Live TTU, and as well as thanking all of our sponsors for the Guns Blazin podcast. First, with Roof Masters of Lubbock, fans, with storm season now in full effect here in the month of May, make sure to check out Roof Masters of Lubbock if you have any type of roof damages. And also, we wanted to thank our other sponsors with JSI Industries and the Exceptional Community Hospital here in Lubbock. Jordan, it's been an interesting past few weeks to say the least. Covering Texas Tech football, you didn't get to be on last episode, so I kind of wanted to know what some of your thoughts were on the whole entire Brendan Sorsby situation. Since you didn't get to be on last week, what's kind of some of your thoughts on the whole entire deal?
I just hate that it's us that's on the forefront of these headlines this time, especially in the gambling sense of things. Man, it's one of those types of allegations that it's really tough to get out of, especially in terms of playing the following season. And I was really excited, to see him get out there. He still does have a chance, but it's either way, if he does manage to get on the field, it'll be kind of tainted in terms of not wanting to have so much negative attention on him to begin with. It's just unfortunate, man. I'm more focused on who's going to replace him than I am him in particular. I do hope that he gets the help that he needs, but as far as football is concerned, we gotta we're going from potential playoff berth again. We're going from potential national title competitors to fringe playoff team. Yeah. Which that quarterback room has to be addressed now more than ever. Those are my initial thoughts about it.
Yeah, I'm glad for your input there, because it has been, it's just crazy to see, and I think over the next few weeks or so you'll start to see kind of that whole entire situation play out a little bit more whenever he gets out of his facility, wherever he's at. But there has been some other news, and if you want to go check out that conversation, make sure to go check out our last podcast episode we did last week. It was a very good conversation discussing the whole entire Brendan Sorsby situation, but we have had some different news discussing the playoff. There has been a lot of chatter about the 24-team playoff being very close to being finalized. It seems like that's kind of where the ball is rolling, and today it even came out that the Big 12 and the ACC are now both in favor of the 24-team playoff. Previously, they'd said that they weren't in favor of it. Now they are in favor of it, in alignment with the Big Ten and the SEC. But it seems like the TV partners with ESPN, because ESPN does have the sole partnership of the playoff, it seems that they do not want 24 teams, and I think it's because they actually would not be able to broadcast every single game, every playoff game. They would have to dish a few of those off to Fox and whoever else. So we'll kind of see how that all plays out. But besides that, though, it kind of seems like this thing is going to be basically doubling from 12 to 24. Texas Tech and Cody Campbell and Joey McGuire, they seem to want this as well. In my personal opinion, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think a lot of fans really aren't either that are, true college football fans. But I think it does in some ways benefit the Big 12 and Texas Tech. I mean, I think Texas Tech would be fine regardless, honestly. But, Jordan, I kind of wanted to know your thoughts. I have a few questions here. Firstly, do you think expanding to the 2014 playoff, do you think it is good for the sport of college football?
No. I think ranking is cool, get the top 25 teams out there. So those that are in the bottom half of that 25 ranking have something to chase, they can be in the hunt, so to speak. But when you go ahead and just include 24 teams, I don't know. It seems like you'll be getting less effort throughout the end of the season where teams that are in the top 10 or the top 15 aren't necessarily worried about losing their spot. So, maybe games aren't played as hard. And also, how does that work in the schedule? Because, you're already you're already into January for the national championship. If you expand it, if you double it, so now you're playing twice as many games, is that going to eat into February, or is that going to... Are we going to shorten the regular season to implement the playoffs earlier into the year, if that makes sense? A thought off the top of my head that would be on the more beneficial side was that it gives these bowl games more weight. You're not just having two, teams that barely were in the top 25 duke it out in the Cheez-It Bowl or something like that. Like they'll actually be playoff games, or it can go to where they're hosting. There's a lot that's in the air for it that I don't think is needed. That's probably why it's a no from me. It's just because it's like, why make it easier for teams to keep competing? Now with basketball, it's different. You start with 64, and they're just doing one games, and it's like a tournament, playing multiple games within the round in the same weekend. Yeah. So you can kind of just move through it and trim the fat a little bit easier with that. But football being a full contact sport, and where each team will want, a good week of practice to prepare for the team that they're going to play, I just don't see how that's going to be feasible. Screw getting it on TV. Yeah. Like, are these guys going to be able to walk? Like, when it's time to play these big games that are going to come at the end of the season? Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't see how the coaches are on board with it. I don't see how the players are. I don't know, man. It just seems like it diminishes the weight of actually being ranked.
Yeah, I think it diminishes the. In my opinion, and college football is my favorite sport, always has been, my whole entire life. I think what makes college football so different and sort of a unique sport. I don't think there's a sport on this really planet that kind of compares to the atmosphere of college football, maybe European soccer. Mm-hmm. But the sort of uniqueness you get whenever it's week 10 and there's two 9-1 teams, now, I guess I could use the example even of like Texas Tech and BYU last year, two teams that were undefeated heading late into the season. Both teams had to win that game. And you saw BYU lost that game. Obviously, they did end up losing the Big 12 championship. They would have got in the playoff if they would have won that game, but they lost that game, and effectively, it made their whole entire season. They had to win to get in, and I think it makes the end of the year for teams like that so much more meaningful. If you have a game like that now with 24 teams, I think that if you lose that game, it's kind of like, we could probably even lose two more and we'll still get in.
Absolutely.
So it's like, okay, that's what makes college football great, is having the regular season be so important, making the atmosphere so important. Are you now going to see guys in the 11th and 12th game of the year just be like, well, we're undefeated, we can just sit our starters? You want the bye, which there is going to be a bye for the first 8 teams in, but I don't know. I just think that when you start to expand it as far as this, what's going to stop them from expanding it to 36 and then a few more years in it? Because frankly, all this is about is money, honestly. And I do think there are a handful of benefits, but I think that the cons outweigh the pros. And the few pros I will discuss, obviously, are the Big 12 will have more inclusion in technically playoff games. But are those teams really, should they even be in a playoff anyway? Like, why is it, and I'm not going to throw out any school, but for example, a 9-3 Big 12 school, say they're the 23 seed and they have to go travel to 10 seed Miami. The Miami was the 10 seed this past year. I mean, is it really that great for the sport to go see them get beat by 4 touchdowns on the road? Like, yeah, it was a playoff game, and we made a few $1 million off of it to pay our players for the next year. But it's just like that, to me, that just diminishes not just the regular season, it also diminishes the playoff. We already see blowouts in the playoff. We saw it this year with James Madison and Tulane. Obviously, Miami did go on a run. They were the 10 seed, and that's great, and that's why you expanded it to 12. But now at 24, I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I know that a lot of coaches are a fan of it, including Texas Tech and their front office, but it's just very interesting, Jordan.
Interesting is the word.
Yeah.
And I want to make another observation. It's from someone who has also grown up watching college football and has seen the passion kind of die a little bit with the introduction of NIL. I would argue that expanding the number of teams in the playoff would do the same thing in terms of making people kind of care less, and the passion of the game dies down with the season because there's a higher chance that these teams will get included. There's more being included, so it's not as much of an achievement to make the playoffs anymore because we have added the same number of slots just over again. So whatever teams did to make it to the top 12, now that effort isn't really needed.
They earned it.
Yeah. Exactly. Now it's just crazy to argue that a top 24 team has an equal amount of right to be in a playoff type of setting than a top 12. Yeah. Because even expanding it to 12, in my opinion, was pushing it. Yeah. Because it's like, okay, now you're just getting these people that are clawing with a resume that's just good enough to argue with, and now that Miami went and won the thing, went and competed in the national championship, that's going to be the argument for any other team to make like a Cinderella type of run. Yeah. And another point that I wanted to make is, in the pros, how many teams make the playoffs, including wild card teams? Isn't it like
it's half, or 14, I think. 14 of the 32, but like college football, isn't the NFL, and I feel like people try to make that argument. It's like, well, college football only gets I don't even know the percentage. Let me just get 15% of the sport gets in the playoff. It's like, okay, that they should get in you should have to earn to get in the playoffs. And to me, expanding to 24, you're going to have, and as a show that, covers Texas Tech centrally and the Big 12 centrally, you're going to have these SEC teams and Big 10 teams that go 8-4 in their conference, and because they had a top 10 schedule, they're going to get in the playoff over potentially like a 9-3 Big 12 team, and then you're going to have the same exact argument, and then it's going to be, oh, well, now we need to make it 30. When is it going to stop with the expansion? And I liked your argument about basketball too. Football is not basketball. Mm-hmm. And football is so much different than March Madness. Like March Madness, you could have a guy, and honestly, really not even anymore because of NIL, but back in the day, you could have a really good mid-major team that could, on any given day, because they had an NBA player on their team, kind of carry them to a win. Yeah. Versus a Power 4 team or whatever. football is 53 guys.
Mm-hmm.
You're having $30 million roster, compete against, in some cases, a $5 million roster. It's apples and oranges. It's completely different. And yes, there will be more teams included from the Big 12 in it. It generates more money for the conference, for the schools. I completely understand all that. But in my opinion, it waters down the most important part of the sport is the regular season. And I think, to me, it waters down the core of the sport.
Yeah, it's like if the goal of any season of a sport is to find the best of the best in that league, why are we lengthening that process when we have rankings that'll just tell you there's the top 10. Now from these 10 or 12, we can get a tournament format to figure out and let these top 10 or 12 performing teams from the regular season
that earned it,
yeah. We let them duke it out in this small little portion of the season that we had designed for the championship tournament. But no, what's the regular season for then? If we're going to give 20 plus teams entry, the top 20 teams? That doesn't make any sense to me, man. It just, like, what are you playing for in the regular season at that point? A lot of guys, like you were saying, aren't going to turn it on until the end of the season, when it's actually like when the wins actually mean something.
Yeah.
Think about that. When they mean something, shouldn't they always mean something? Yeah, I don't know, man.
Because you think back at the history of college football, that's what would make, the upset so important on a schedule. College sports, like the whole, I guess I could say magic around it is on any given Saturday. I'm just using this as an example. I know you're an Alabama fan, but like I remember in that Iron Bowl, obviously when Chris Davis returned that touchdown, it was like 11-0 versus 10-1. Winner takes the SEC East or West or whatever, and goes to the SEC championship. Blah blah. Now it's just like, well,
both of these teams are making
they're
it
already
either
in.
way.
Yeah, we can, and that's the Iron Bowl. That's maybe the best rivalry in the whole entire sport. And now it's just like, well, I mean, it would be cool if we won the Iron Bowl, but like, do we really need to win? I mean, we're already in.
You see how we're now as fans relying on teams to find that competitive spirit.
Yeah.
Despite there being a guaranteed appearance in the postseason, like we're now leaning on them to find the will to be like ethical players of the sport. Like now it's reminding me of like load management in the NBA.
Exactly.
Like when a kid gets a ticket to a game and the one that wants to see their favorite player, too early in the season, bro. Like this dude's not going to want to get on the court until it's playoff time, or this person's not going to actually take a snap until it's conference play. Like those are the types of things that I'm thinking about too, where it takes so much away from the game, where it's like I really just don't see how coaches and schools and players are on board with that. It just seems like way more for such a step back for the sport.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it's I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how. I mean, it's more than likely gonna get passed.
It's gonna be profitable.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Because who am I?
Yeah.
To not watch a ball game.
Because of course we're all gonna watch it, and a lot of it's probably not gonna be. I mean, I shouldn't say not good football, and yes, there could be. I guess you could use the example like last year Texas finished 9-3 and they were ranked like 14th or something. Yes, a team like Texas could go on and win the national championship and go on a run like that, but Texas is like they're the richest NIL brand in the whole entire country. Like, of course they could do that. Like, Nebraska or Illinois isn't going to go on some Cinderella run as the 21 seed in this thing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's like, at what point do we start actually penalizing losses?
Yes.
Because if teams that, what you just said, right? There are two ways to look at it. Like, of course, a team like Texas can make a run with the roster that they have, right? Why shouldn't a Texas team with the roster they have not make it in the top 10?
They're locked from week one,
so,
right?
I'm thinking now we're going on this whole devil's advocate point of view or just calling it what it is. Like, what do you mean you're not able to make it in the top 10 with the guys that you got, with the coaches that you got, with the schedule? Yes, it's a tough schedule, but this is where you prove that you deserve that spot.
Yes.
But now if we're talking 25 teams get the spot, 24 teams get the spot. We're having completely different.
Yeah, Ohio State, Texas, Alabama, all of them. They're locks. All they have to do is win 9 games and they're in the playoff. That's just like, and I know a lot of those teams already were in the playoff, but I mean this past season, like I just said, Texas, they lost 3 times. They did not earn their spot to get in the playoff because they lost 3 times. And there's other teams that were on the hinge of that conversation as well that, I mean, you got to win your games. You know what I'm saying?
Thing.
It's just like.
It's like I don't see how the conference bias doesn't get larger because
it will.
As a fan of the sport, how can you tell me that, say, a 7-win Alabama team is better, or how can you tell me that a 7-win Bama team is worse than a 12-win BYU team? Like, and that's a conversation though. That's what's crazy enough.
But like, you say that, and like you would get like drawback from that on social media, like, oh well, you know, blah 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 blah. You know, BYU's undefeated. Obviously they'd be in, but it's like, no. They had that conversation last year, you know, like with BYU.
Mm-hmm.
Like even, I mean, they lost obviously to us twice, you know, but they lost to us twice. You know, they didn't earn that right to be in. And you were talking about conference bias. I thought BYU, honestly, probably deserved to be in, sitting at an 11-1 regular season. And you did see a 9-3 Alabama team make the playoff.
Exactly.
So now, in the 2014 playoff, are you going to be sitting there like we discussed earlier, and there's like 3 8-4 SEC teams at the end of this thing?
The 20s, yeah.
And then it's just like, well, they play in the SEC, and they should get in over a 10-win G5 team, and then we're having the same conversation. Now it's expanded to 36 or something.
But here's what pisses me off the most about it is that we're having these conversations about ranked teams from 15 and up.
Yeah.
Why are we choosing to have these conversations, and why are we giving them so much importance? Like, at this point, just keep those outskirt bowl games for them. You know, if you want them to play so bad after the season's over, then just keep the bowl games. But no, bro, 15 and up, I'm still iffy on 12, but 15 and up, like, you're done. Like, you gave it a good run. Yeah. Hey, you're a top 25 ranked team in Division I college football. That's a win. Get better from there. Not get in the playoff. Like, what? That doesn't make sense.
And you were just talking about bowl games. That's a big reason why I think this is happening, is because you're going to see the disappearance of bowl games. And obviously, like, bowl games have lost a lot of luster ever since the playoff expanded to 12. Even whenever it was at 4, they kind of already did. But they still meant a little bit more back then, but especially after going to 12. Now bowl games are completely gone. They will be completely gone pretty much when it goes to 24. And yes, would I rather watch a playoff game than a bowl game? Yes. But does that mean that in the general scheme of things, it's actually good for the sport? In my opinion, I don't think so, because I don't think the postseason is what makes college football great. It's the regular season that makes college football great. And I think that is what the core of what the magic, like I said earlier, around college football is seeing those upsets, seeing I have to get my 10th win or I'm not going to make it. And and that's what makes it so great, because you're either at your home stadium or traveling to like a rival stadium at the end of the year, and you have to win that game. And now it's just like, man, we have 9 wins. We're already in the thing.
Yeah, it's like stakes.
Yeah.
Things to give the game meaning.
Yeah.
Things to strive after. You know, if you expand that, you completely take it away.
Yeah.
Go all day about that.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting to see. Obviously, you hear our opinions on it, but sounds like that thing's pretty much finalized, just hasn't really been announced yet. But it has been very good as far as recruiting goes for Texas Tech, and we wanted to kind of discuss that here for a second as well. In football, saw this graphic out on social media this past week that Texas Tech right now in the Big 12 has 8 of the top 10 recruits in the whole entire conference. And man, there's 5, of course, 5 stars, 4 stars littered across the list. Now Texas Tech is the second ranked class in the whole entire country according to On3. It's pretty insane to. I mean, literally two years ago, you couldn't even imagine seeing a Texas Tech high school recruiting class look like that. But we're just on the trajectory that we're on, and I love it, Jordan.
I still don't believe it's real. Like when you showed me that yesterday, I remember looking at you and being like, "What are we building here? Like, what are we doing?" Because it's still crazy to see this much talent just on one side of the ball. Let alone as an entire team. 4-star, 4-star, 5-star, 5-5.
Yeah.
Like, it is utterly insane. And yeah, I know we're not worried about a playoff expansion. Like we're not anywhere near that. Just keep us at the top 5, why don't you?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's football season that'll be ramping up here over the summer. It's obviously we're here in mid-May, so not too much to discuss as far as that goes now that obviously spring ended a few weeks ago, but it's going to be a very exciting season for Texas Tech for sure. And kind of discussing though as we move into our basketball segment, talking about the portal. We've really seemingly talked about it every single show. We haven't had a commit since then, but it seems like that there could be momentum towards a center finally, a very good one. With Momo Faye from Europe. He plays professionally over in Europe, and he is someone that if you add to this team, now with the potential 5-for-5 passing, you would have a very, very good 6 players, and you potentially could even add some more after him. You would have Cruz Davis, Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, Josiah Mosley coming back, JT Toppin potentially returning for the last 2 months or so of the season, and then one of the best centers that would be in the country in Momo Faye. Jordan, what's kind of some of your thoughts on if they were to land Faye?
I think outside of landing Faye, the 5-year deal, like that would be one of the craziest turnarounds, like potentially for Tech basketball, considering like what we look like right now versus what we could look like on the other side of that deal. At this point, I just want something to be happy about. I just want something to cheer at. We got so much portal and recruitment love on the football stuff.
Yeah.
I just want some of that to just kind of trickle on over into basketball. But this is a trend in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, I think if Texas Tech was able to land Faye, this would be one of the best top 15 teams in the country, considering they add obviously a few players to fill out the roster as well. But your top 7, 8 players would be competing against everyone else in the country. Your guard play would be very, very good. And then you might, when JT comes back, you might have the best front court in the whole entire Big 12. Mm-hmm. Should be interesting to see how they fill out the rest of the roster. But we got some Texas Tech softball also that as we kind of move on from the portal talk. Softball hosting the Lubbock Regional this weekend. Obviously, they didn't end up winning that Big 12 tournament. Arizona State, they kind of beat us down pretty good.
Yeah.
And their pitcher Kenzie Brown, she is phenomenal, and she threw a one-hitter against us, and that is probably the worst I've seen our lineup look all year long. And we have the best lineup in school history this season. So I think that heading into this regional, I think that they will bounce back from that. Obviously still 52-6. They did get, kind of dinged, obviously, for their schedule. We were worried that they were going to. They aren't going to be hosts for the Super Regional if it plays out the way of if Florida wins their or their regional, then we would have to travel to Gainesville and go play in a super regional. But I think that Texas Tech shouldn't have any issues this weekend, hopefully. But what's kind of some of your thoughts on how it's all played out after the Big 12 tournament, Jordan?
I would say we finally looked human. You know, it was. I know we had gotten beat a couple of times earlier this season, but this one was one of the ones where it was like, okay, like we actually are a team that is capable of having flaws and just not being on our A game all of the time. But I do remember saying during the show that we had at Golf Suites that I would rather have losses like these early on, you know, even if it was in the tournament. Go ahead and get those out of the way, feel the hurt of the loss, and get back out there in time to perform well for these regional tournaments and the super regionals and onto the World Series. So having that taste of defeat, especially from someone in the Big 12, play us the way that they did, kind of embarrassing at certain times of that game. Ultimately, I think it'll be good for us. Yeah. I think it'll be I don't want to say easy, you know, weekend in Lubbock for the regional, but I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, especially with it being double elimination.
Yes.
I think
good point.
Being at home, double elimination. I think Ole Miss will be a formidable opponent. Anyone from the SEC in softball is very good. They had like 6 of the top 8 seeds, so should be that should probably end up being the championship in this whole deal. But I do think, you know, kind of going back to Arizona State, they actually are in the Texas A&M regional. I think Arizona State, the way they looked, I think they could win that regional. Yeah. I think we might have played a team that could have been finding their footing here at the end of the year. They've won like 10 of their last 13 games. I think that might have been more of an indictment on how good actually Arizona State is at this moment than how Texas Tech is. I think we might have just kind of got punched in the mouth early, and we're like, man, I don't think we're hitting off Kinsey Brown today. And she's another first-round pick, just like Nigerie. And that UASL draft, she was the 15th overall pick. So she is one of the best players in the whole entire country. So I think that it was kind of more Arizona State being great maybe than it was Texas Tech not being great and Kinsey Brown being great, because this Texas Tech lineup all year long, 125 home runs, an OPS over 1,200. I mean, you could go down the list, over 500 RBIs. They are one of probably the second best lineup in the whole entire country besides Oklahoma, obviously led by Caitlin Terry, Mia Williams, Maya Davis, Jackie Liz. You go down the list. This lineup can hurt you in every single aspect. And I think after you get pitched on a one-hitter, I think you might see, hopefully, Texas Tech come out with some vengeance this weekend and really show no mercy on this whole entire regional. And I would imagine that this game on Friday might be done in the 5th inning pretty quickly, Jordan.
Yeah. It's honestly like you can bet on it at this point. After we lose a game, we'll hang about 20 runs on them.
Yeah,
we'll come out and we'll do something crazy where the bats just come alive, seemingly from being in hibernation the previous game.
And they don't have any other choice. This is the postseason. There's not any room for error. Obviously, yes, they technically can lose a game and still be alive in the regional since it is double elimination, but that puts you in a precarious spot where if you lose one more game, you're done. And for as much money that was poured into this team, as much support that has been poured into this team, you have the 2 best pitchers in the whole entire country, a top 3 lineup in the whole entire country. It would be a disaster for them to lose in a regional, especially a home regional. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I do think, though, there has been some frustrating defeats this year. I wouldn't classify – well, the Arizona State one was frustrating because we couldn't hit the ball, but once again, I think Kinsey Brown is just that great. But there has been other frustrating losses like Baylor, Texas State, Utah, Arizona, And in the majority of those games, besides the Baylor one, it was in similar fashion to the Arizona State one where I want to say they were all shutouts where we scored like 0-1 run. And it's very weird to me that you've seen our lineup now about 4 or 5 times this year not just, get beat, but put up a goose egg. That I think that's kind of weird that it's kind of come to that in the losses. I think that heading into this tournament, obviously that's something that cannot occur. I think that you have to be very, very aggressive. If you need to play a little bit more small ball, if for some reason they were swinging for more power in those games, you want to hit for more contact, get more girls on base, then you can try to hit for power when you have multiple runners on base. I think when you head into the postseason like this, you're trying to score as many runs at all costs. I think that is what the approach that needs to be had as we head into this regional, because our pitching is going to keep us in every single game and maybe even have us, Caitlin Terry could hit a home run and should throw a shutout, She could even, do it herself. So I think that as we head into this, the hitting has to be consistent, because if not, if you throw up a goose egg in one of these games, you will lose.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of the double-edged sword that is having so many victories by a lot of runs, is that when you do get to these tournament games where these opponents are playing you closer, you don't really know what you got. You know what I'm saying? So when the bats are alive, they're alive. But what does Texas Tech play like when backs are against the wall and we need a hit? What's our experience with playing from behind or playing where these next 3 batters have to get on base, or like 1 out of the 3 has to get on base, and then someone else got to bring them in. Like, it just has to happen for the game to be in our favor. Like, what is the mentality of our players? Do they have the confidence? Do they have the confidence in themselves and their teammates to pull through whenever adversity arrives? Stuff like that. So that's what I'm hoping that these losses builds for us, and I hope that having so much success early and in the regular season doesn't bite us in that way.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, because maybe, in last year, that's what we were so good at. We were so clutch, you in the super regional and then in the World Series, we just were always making that clutch play. And I hope that, all those other games where we won by so many runs, in those losses, really the best team that we played all year was Nebraska, and we lost that game 3-2. I hope that, this team has that clutch gene where if you're in a game like that versus a team of that caliber, if you'd win this regional, you'd go to Florida in a hostile environment. Do they have that clutch gene to go in there like last year's team and go win a close game? Because you're not going to just blow out everyone. When you may, and even for as good of a team as we have, that's just not how softball and baseball work when you get into those really tough matchups. I think that they're going to have to find a way, like you said, to kind of have that clutch gene as we head into this postseason. I think they will. I think you will see us make the College World Series and make a deep run once again. But they got to do it, though. They got to do it. And that'll kind of lead us into our injury report segment. Fans, it's time for this week's injury report presented by the Exceptional Community Hospital. And before we hop into the injury report, we just want to take a moment to recognize the Exceptional Community Hospital as a proud sponsor of Campus Live and the Guns Blazin podcast. Be sure to visit their 24/7 state-of-the-art hospital and ER located at 6401 Spur 327 in Lubbock. They accept all insurances and have short ER wait times. And once again, the Exceptional Community Hospital is proud to support this week's injury report on Campus Live. The only player that will be out is Lagi Kuroga. She's been out for quite a while. She was one of the best hitters on this whole entire squad. So, would be great to have another bat at this point in the year, no doubt about it. But it seems like we're not going to have her for the rest of the year, Jordan.
Yeah. Unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And that's pretty much all we have for the injury report segment. So I think we can kind of move into our Paving the Way to Victory segment. Fans, JSI Services is a proud partner of Campus Live, and be sure to visit their website at jsiservicesllc.com to learn about their asphalt/paving services, earth and dirt works, concrete and gutter paving, crack fill, seal coating, and stripping services. Once again, thank you to JSI Services for their proud support of the Guns Blazin podcast. Jordan, we were just talking about it. I think, first off, obviously pitching just has to stay the course, what they've done all year. But we've been harping on it. Most importantly, it's staying consistent at the plate. It's our hitting. We touched on it earlier. There have been those weird games where for some reason we're scoring 0 runs in our losses. I think, though, we have such a good lineup. I think you'll have that extra sense of motivation amongst the squad. This is what they've been working for all year long, is this moment. I think you will see us sweep this regional, win the super regional, and then go on to the Women's College Softball World Series, Jordan.
Yeah, I think a major key is to don't overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
You know, we are one of the best teams in the nation, so do the little things right, you know. Play the game. Put the bat to the ball, get on base, get that base runner, you know, advanced, make some quality defensive plays, no errors, you know what I mean? And, yeah, just execute.
Yeah.
I think that'll be the one.
Yeah. Should be a great weekend, and if you any of you softball fans are watching, make sure to head out to Tracy Sellers Field this weekend for the Lubbock Regional. Should be some great postseason softball. But that'll kind of move us into our last segment. The NBA and NHL playoffs have been now in the really kind of heading towards the end of this thing. The New York Knicks, man, in the Eastern Conference, they already are in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Oklahoma City Thunder unfortunately swept my Lakers and LeBron. That one hurt. The Spurs, Wemby went off yesterday. They have a 3-2 lead over Minnesota. I think that series, man, that's been a very entertaining series so far. That one could potentially go 7. And then obviously Detroit and Cleveland, that one is tied. So, Jordan, what's been kind of some of your thoughts on the NBA playoffs? And I guess now we're almost here to the conference finals.
Yeah, it's been very entertaining. A lot of teams that I did not see making it as far as they have made, including the Pistons. I thought they were a fraudulent 1 seed.
They were down 3-1.
I'm definitely eating my words right now. Wemby is as advertised. It was very entertaining to see LeBron have the run that he did at 40 years old. Unfortunately, OKC just seems like a force this year again. And with that being said, I think Wemby is the final guardian of the Western Conference in terms of making sure OKC doesn't repeat. But it's looking like it's going to be a tall task, even for San Antonio with the way they've been playing. Great games, though, nonetheless. Great hoops. Knicks in 6, baby. I think I might officially, don the Knicks for the rest of the postseason just because I love the fan base and I could potentially be in New York by the time the finals go on. So that'd be cool to be a part of.
Yeah, that'd be sick going to MSG for the finals. That's
I
like
just be on the street, man. Like I don't even need to be in there with the game, dude.
Yeah, I mean that's. New York would be on fire if the Knicks make it to the finals, literally and figuratively.
Yeah. I would be sure to record a story for Campus Live while I'm in the midst of it.
Yeah, it's the Knicks have been playing really, really good basketball though. They destroyed the Sixers, and yeah, I agree about the Spurs. I think they're really the only thing standing in the way of a potential Thunder repeat. I do think the Knicks though, if they make it to the finals, I think that the Knicks could potentially push that to like a 6-game series. The way that they have been playing, they have a very good squad, and I think that the Thunder, I thought that even though that they swept the Lakers, I thought JJ Redick, besides not putting Rui in on that last possession, I don't know what he was thinking putting in Maxi Kleber on that possession, but I think that JJ actually had a really good defensive plan for OKC. He just didn't have the players to execute it. And he also was missing his best player in Luka Doncic.
True.
But besides game 4, Shea he was inefficient. He turned the ball over at a very high rate, and he was only averaging around 20 points per game. And he was really getting that because of the refs giving him a lot of free throws like he always does. And A.J. Mitchell carried them this whole entire series.
He's been hooping.
Chet played great in games 1 through 3 and game 4 as well. Isaiah Hartenstein, he played really good too. But A.J. Mitchell, man, he was the story for the Thunder in that series. He dropped dang near 30 in that game 4.
It was huge.
He was absolutely huge. And if the Spurs, obviously with their size, they have the size. The Lakers don't really have a front court to match up versus Chet and Hartenstein. I think that having Wemby down low, I think that it gives them that potential advantage versus them. And you saw in the regular season, the Spurs won that regular season series. If they were to implement a defensive strategy similar to the Lakers, forcing Shea to turn the ball over at a high rate and be inefficient, I think that's when you could see the Spurs win a Western Conference Finals. But they got to beat Minnesota first. So.
I was gonna say, man,
Yeah.
it is one thing to say that Wemby is the only thing standing in the way between them and OKC winning again, but also Minnesota's got some dogs, man. You just can't discredit them off the rip just because they won last night.
Yeah.
So Minnesota could definitely still be the ones facing OKC in the Western Conference. It's just gonna be interesting to see how OKC plays whoever.
Yeah.
Because it's just seeming like they're the team to beat right now.
Yeah.
And let the GM James handle this offseason because he's not going to retire.
No.
And let him come back with Luka, and his son will get another year, and DeAndre Ayton pack your bags. You're not coming back.
Yeah.
It's over amongst other people. So, we'll see what LA looks like.
Yeah. Sounds like something DeAndre Ayton would do. I don't know. He was. Jackson Hayes actually pretty good game 4, but when you have Jackson Hayes as your starting center, man, it's just not
LeBron
good.
really made a lot happen with nothing, bro.
Yeah.
He made a lot
Especially,
happen.
Austin Reeves wasn't playing that great, honestly, either. So, it was. We'll see what the Lakers do, but. The NHL playoffs as well too. My Stars, told y'all last week they got knocked out obviously by the Wild, but the Avalanche are beating the Wild 3-1 in that series. It seems like they are the best team in the playoffs remaining. It kind of seems like there is a dead set path for a Avalanche versus a Carolina Hurricanes Stanley Cup final, as the Hurricanes have not lost a game in the playoffs. They've swept both first and second round series, so they are playing very, very good hockey. And I think an Avalanche and Hurricanes Stanley Cup final would be cinema, Jordan.
Isn't it crazy how two teams in different sports with weather names are undefeated in the playoffs?
Yeah,
the Thunder and the Hurricanes.
Yeah,
that's wild, man. No, I was just in Colorado, in Denver actually, and a lot of Avalanche fans, a lot of jerseys I saw going around. Like, they are serious about their hockey out there, and I know that team is going to give them a lot to cheer for in the future because I've only seen good things about them. Or from them.
Yeah,
in the playoffs
for sure. And you got anything else, Jordan? Anything?
Nah, man. I just hope for a nice, smooth weekend in terms of softball. Hope everything goes well in terms of a commencement ceremony. There's going to be a lot of love and celebration in the air. We might run into each other in the bars. You know what I'm saying? Again, have a good time. But nah, man, this was a good show. It's always good to get an episode in with you. Yeah,
absolutely. If you're graduating this weekend and happen to see this episode, congratulations. Hope we got our cameraman here, Will. He is graduating this weekend, so much love to Will, who is graduating this weekend, and to him and his family. And once again, if you are graduating, just good luck on your future endeavors. And hey, we're all Texas Tech alumni here, so we're all a big family. But that'll kind of wrap things up here in the Miller Waldrop Studios. Thank you, fans, so much once again for tuning in. And make sure to follow, like, share, and subscribe wherever you see our content on Campus Live or the Guns Blazin podcast, as well as thanking all of our sponsors who help us make this happen every single week for their continued support of Campus Live and the Guns Blazin podcast. And lastly, remember that Campus Live is your one-stop news source for all things Texas Tech and Lubbock.
From Miller Waldrop Studios, this is Campus Live.